What's happening, y'all? So, what if I told you that another state just realized that they could lock political control without winning any more voters and not adjusting messaging, not trying to persuade, just redraw the lines and call it fair? Not a conspiracy. This isn't the first state. It's happened quite a bit, but now it is it is well documented and publicized in Virginia. And it's not a conspiracy. It's what's happening. And once you see it, you will start to see that pattern everywhere. And before we even get to that, though, we have to talk about how this pattern and similar patterns are playing out in other areas. So it's obvious, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
So welcome to the Mission Ready Men Briefing. We're here on the SHR Media Network, where faith in God is the standard and masculinity is not up for negotiation. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, in the year of our Lord 2026. And we have a ton to get to. And as usual, I have no idea if I'm going to get to it all. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. Now, real quick, before we get into it, please do me a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, share the episode, share the channel, help us get out of this ridiculous algorithms chokehold. We haven't stopped growing. We haven't stopped growing on SHR. My individual channel has not stopped growing, but it has slowed. It has slowed. So every click, every comment, every share matters. So please do us a favor and help us out. Now, as I said, this show runs on the SHR Media channel and my individual channel. It's the same content, same briefing, just different ways to get there. So if you're here on SHR and you haven't checked out my individual channel, please do me a favor and head over there and subscribe. We're at 927 over there. And I would really appreciate it if you could help me get over 1,000 over on the individual channel. As I said, same briefing, just different lanes. But let's go ahead and dive right into this, because this story, this is the one that we've talked about before when it happened. And people who think that violence is activism, once they realize that consequences are actually really a thing, now all of a sudden they're afraid. They hate accountability when it's directed to them. Now, I'm talking about the assault on Savannah Hernandez. We talked about that. We showed it. I'll probably show a clip of it again here in a second. But this guy, Chris Ostrusko, or whatever his name is, he effed around, and now he's finding out. He assaulted Savannah Hernandez on camera, full attitude, not the least bit concerned about any consequences, because normally people like that don't deal with any consequences. But the internet did what the internet does, found him. And it wasn't hard because he had been on left-wing outlets on a limited basis in the past. So he was kind of known already. But now that he's getting the backlash that he so richly deserves, and then some, now he's thinking about leaving the country. Yeah. He went from tough guy, activist, to afraid to stay in this country in a matter of, what, a week, 10 days? He went from, he went from, I'm not violent to I might flee the country. Just ridiculous. Now, just to recap, Savannah Hernandez, she is a journalist for TPUSA, and she was covering this anti-ICE protest in Minnesota, and everything was going fine until somebody decided to let the crowd know who she was and who she worked for. And so this guy tells his daughter to go blow a whistle in her ear, which is assault. And so she does dutifully what her father tells her to do, and chaos ensues. So let's take a look at that, because the family has claimed throughout this whole thing that they did nothing wrong. And they're on video. Everything is recorded these days. And to sit there and say, I did nothing wrong, when we have video evidence to the contrary, is just stupid. But check this out.
Go right up.
Where's your microphone?
Where's the whistle? It's in the car. Just the whistle right in her fucking ear. Right in her ear.
Don't try to just whistle right from the Yep.
Whistle in her goddamn ear. People are doing it back here. Go right in her fucking ear.
Oh, I know it's hard.
I'm just freezing. No, I'm watching my wife. I think my wife.
Yeah, your wife. I'm pulling her back. Please don't fucking deck her. She wants, because she did. She did the same thing Dick made. But it's TPUSA, so it's gonna go to all the Fox News.
That's right. That's what my daughter said.
This is gonna be the most boring fucking video to watch ever, bro.
Blowing it in her ear.
So she went over to her, blew the whistle loud right in her ear. But they did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong according to them. This was not an edited video. I mean, you saw the captions, but I mean, you could clearly hear it. This is what happened, but they did nothing wrong. And now that it went viral, the whole incident went viral, his identity has been put out there. Now, all of a sudden, he's a victim. And this is This is the game that they play. This same guy now all of a sudden is, as I said, not sure he wants to live in this country anymore. And here he is on a podcast. I thought this was Brian Shapiro's podcast, but I don't think it is because they're actually playing the assault side by side with this interview. But listen to this and watch and pay attention to what's on the right side, because it's the assault as it plays out in real time.
Maybe you guys do get doxxed, but I don't know if you guys are getting the same type of stuff that we're getting, and it's nonstop.
Come on. Conservatives have been getting doxxed since it became a thing. Conservatives have been getting doxxed. They've been getting swatted. Even people who aren't necessarily conservative just have a slightly conservative bent, like Tim Pool. He's no conservative by any stretch. He's been swatted 3 or 4 times, among other people. And families in the whole bit. And this guy.
Hundreds of phone calls a day. It's text messages and them trying to get into all of our social media accounts and contacting our friends.
And there he is right there. He just shoved a 100-pound woman to the ground. This guy, easily 225, 230, maybe more. Easily over 100-pound difference. Regardless of that, he's a man, or he's allegedly a man. He had no business putting his hands on her in any capacity whatsoever.
Our neighbors, our family, the rest of our family is getting doxxed as well. It's not just us. It's my sons, their wives, like people that had nothing to do with anything. It's a little overwhelming. And
welcome to the internet. You do something, you say something that somebody doesn't like, and there is a very good chance that you are going to get doxxed. You do something like that, and he's very fortunate that there were no men to step up and issue the beating that he so desperately deserved. But I digress.
And it makes me second guess even living in this country, to be honest with you, with all this going on. I've never had this happen in my life. Maybe
second guess living in this country. Wow. What a piece of work. He's claiming harassment. He's claiming he's being doxxed. His social media accounts are all private now. But now he believes in borders. He's at an anti-ICE protest, by the way. And now he thinks that anyone and everyone should be allowed in this country. And now, when he's dealing with the consequences of his actions, now all of a sudden he doesn't think he doesn't want to be here. It is absolutely amazing how principles change when your name is attached to the viral moment. Amazing. And he did this, make no mistake, he did this because he thought he was untouchable. He thought there was absolutely no way in that environment he was going to deal with any consequences. But he gets filmed, and enough people see it, enough sane people realize that this guy deserves all the backlash, and he gets exposed. Because the internet never sleeps. The internet is forever. And then because he doesn't like the consequences of his actions, now he's crying foul. Now he's just crying. They think that they can get away with this because they always do. And he's finding out that that is not always the case. And aside from the doxing, he lost his job. His wife lost her job. His daughter, the one who blew the whistle, got kicked off her soccer team, I believe. Consequences. These are the consequences of your actions. And they're just shocked that they're actually dealing with them, because the people on that side of the aisle rarely do. And this goes into the deeper issue of left-wing violence. Leftists perpetrate violence like this all the time, and very rarely suffer any consequences from it. I've talked about before how left-wing violence doesn't even really get reported as left-wing violence. The murder up in Portland, the name of the victim escapes me at the moment, but that was not reported as left-wing violence. And the perpetrator of that, he ended up either killing himself or dying. I can't remember exactly which. But they rarely suffer any consequences from it. Rarely suffer consequences. And so now that he's dealing with it, now he's all upset. This is what accountability looks like. And they love accountability until it is directed at them. They love to say they want to hold conservatives, Republicans accountable. But they don't like it when the mirror gets held up to them and they have to be the ones held accountable. But of course, he wants to he wants to be the tough guy as he's shoving a woman who weighs half as much as he does or less. He wants to play the tough guy, and then when the backlash comes around, now he's the victim. And I am here for all of it. I am here. And the thing is, right now it's all online. For some reason, they have not been charged yet. The daughter is bragging that she hasn't had to deal with any law enforcement since the initial incident, which is disturbing. So this online backlash could blow over. And if the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department doesn't do anything, this could blow over and everything will go back to normal. I hope that's not the case. I hope they're actually building a case that they can bring the whole truckload against him and his family. But for that, we're just going to have to wait and see. All right. Now I want to talk about some actual victims. The House Judiciary Committee, they held a hearing last week, and you may have seen some clips from it. But they held a hearing about the human cost of illegal aliens or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact title of the hearing. I think they show it in one of the clips that we're going to talk about, or say it. But they brought some grieving families into the hearing room and proceeded to act like the jackwagons that they are. And I really want to say something else, but language. Anyway, they brought these families into the room. They're not activists, they're not political pundits, they're victims whose families have suffered a devastating loss. And some of the members of this committee looked at that as an opportunity, not to listen, but to inject their own political spin into the proceeding. And for all of the Democrats who decided to shill for their party, there were some members of this committee who were not going to let that stand, and we're going to get to that here in a second. This hearing reveals a pattern of the system just completely failing. They had chances to fix it, and they failed to act. They absolutely failed to act. And the families walked through it step by step, tier by tier. I didn't actually post any of these, but I want you to hear some of these, and we're gonna hang out here for a minute because I want it to sink in. I want it to settle with you guys. Let's take a look at this one.
Thank you for reminding us where we were. I thought for a second that I wandered into an Epstein file hearing.
Now, she said that because this was right after Jamie Raskin went into a tirade about the Epstein files in this hearing, which has absolutely nothing to do with what they're talking about. But like I said, they used it as an opportunity to inject their political agenda. And these families, let me tell you, weren't having it. You should watch the whole thing. It's over in almost 2 hours, I think, but it's worth it.
Now that I've been holding my arms open to what life has to offer me, I couldn't be happier. That was the last text from my daughter roughly 2 hours before an unlicensed, uninsured, illegal alien would run a stop sign, cross 3 lanes of traffic without looking, and collide with Carissa, slamming her head first into a concrete barrier. The driver then fled the scene with her boyfriend and Nat, not knowing if my daughter was alive or dead. My daughter was ambitious. She was enrolled in esthetician school. She quickly rose to the top of her class, landed jobs with high-end salons. She'd smile with confidence as she talked about her dreams of opening a skincare line based on beauty secrets around the world. She was very specific that her goal was to make quality skincare affordable for everyone, because everyone deserved to feel beautiful. I was so proud of the young woman that Carissa was blossoming into before my eyes. She would have done it too, because when my daughter put her mind to something, she achieved it. Now, she's minimally conscious, nonverbal, is wheelchair-bound, and eats through a feeding tube. She has very little cognitive control over her body. She communicates discomfort through grunts and moans, and at night she often calls out to me. I think she's afraid of the dark, or of being alone, or both. I don't know for sure, because she can't tell me.
Sad. And the left had the audacity to bring their political agenda into this when it was their political agenda that caused this. And instead of engaging in the proceeding, the leftists in the committee, like I said, they brought up the Epstein files. That was Jamie Raskin. He brought up the Epstein files, Renee Good, Trump, Hank Johnson brought up Trump, brought up taxes, brought up the war in Iran, healthcare. And then, not to be outdone, someone who we haven't talked about in a while. And there was actually a funny moment in this that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But old Jazzy Ratchet. Jazzy Ratchet, of course, could not let this moment pass without being a complete, just, I'll let you decide for yourself.
Thank you so much. And I hear your rage, and I don't have children and literally have never lost a child nor had one injured to actually, really be in your shoes. But one thing that I can tell you about the redirection is because so often what we see happen is politicians play games. The reality is that if you are talking about a sanctuary city, then we're talking about city government. We're talking about local control, something that the Republicans used to espouse that they believed in. They used to believe in whoever lives in that city, you elect who is going to run that city. And that city, whether it's the police department, which is the police department and law enforcement that make the decisions about what they do. We don't pick the police chief for any given city. Not on the federal level. That comes from the city level. That comes from whoever the people of that city actually elect to represent them. I believe in local control. Same thing, I live in Texas too. And baby, I wish I didn't have to deal with Governor Greg Abbott, but local control dictates that he is the governor of our state, and therefore we have state reps, we have state senators, and we have a governor, and we have county elected officials and city elected officials. We are sitting in Washington, D.C. right now.
I could let that go on, but I'm not going to. There's another piece to that we're going to get to here in a second, but she is insufferable. She is absolutely insufferable. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and get into it.
Frustrated, because hear me when I say this. I have seen people, whether it was an American citizen or not, that killed your child or harmed your child. I believe it's wrong. To me, it wouldn't have made it any less painful. And I could be wrong again because I don't have any kids. But if for some reason it had been a U.S. citizen that ended up harming or killing your child, the pain would still be there. It would still hurt.
What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Yes, it would hurt, obviously. The pain would be there. But the fact that these tragedies were completely 100% preventable adds to that pain. And I don't have children, but I understand that. Why doesn't she? Well, because she's an idiot. Unbelievable. Just, wow. Now, as I said, Brandon Gill, he was not having it in this hearing. He was absolutely not having it. And this was actually a funny moment right after Jazzy's tirade. This was This was funny.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank God she won't be back next Congress, but I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record a few different things. First of all,
He said, thank God she's not going to be back. That was awesome. That, oh my goodness. Brandon Gill, I'm not in Texas anymore. And even if I did still live in Texas, he wouldn't have been my congressman. But he is a shining star in this ridiculous Congress that we're dealing with right now. But this is what they do. This is what they do. They move the conversation and try to turn it away from the actual substance, because the actual substance destroys their position. And so because of that, they have to divert, dilute, and make it about everything but the actual subject. And somebody in the comments mentioned Hank Johnson. I'm not going to play his comments, but Brandon Gill had something to say to him too. He's usually on fire. He was on fire in this hearing. Listen to this.
before we get into that, I think it's worth saying that was one of the most disgusting testimonies I have ever heard. To have Hank come in here and lecture angel families about how they shouldn't be here, how we shouldn't be holding this hearing. What the hell is wrong with you guys? The reason they're here is because of open borders that you guys perpetrated for 4 years. And to come in here and to turn this into a MAGA Republican idiotic low IQ lecture is sickening. To whine about which seats they're in.
Yeah, Hank Johnson actually, because there was a lawyer that the Democrats called as a witness, and he was in between two of the Republican witnesses, and somehow that was an issue to Hank Johnson. But of course, he is low IQ, as Brandon Gill said, so there's that.
It's disgusting. That said, I'd like to give you guys a chance to respond to some of the things that you've heard, and I'll start with you, Ms. Wilkerson.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that it was a spoken policy of Houston to be a sanctuary. It wasn't written at that point, and so the suburbs around Houston followed that same policy, and East Parker's kind of laughable to me. This hearing could also be about why we're not, or people aren't voting. You know, there's a slush fund for people up here in these places that have committed crimes, or people have said, oh, you've raped and stuff. But, you know, this hearing could have been about that too, but it's not.
I love that moment, because there were a couple of Raskin and Johnson talked about this hearing could have been about this, or could have been about that. And she said, well, it also could have been about that slush fund. Idiots. So, yeah, this thing was a disaster on all fronts. And the left, they exposed themselves for the low IQ grifters that they are. It was a ridiculous display. An absolutely ridiculous display. And yeah, I'm gonna play this last one too, because this was a response to another response to Ms. Ratchet, And because, and Ms. Wilkerson, her response, her comment was also in response about Houston being a sanctuary city. Jasmine Crockett tried to say that it wasn't. And she said it may not have been a written policy or law, but effectively it came down from on high that they were a sanctuary city. So, but let's take a listen to this real quick, and then we'll move on.
When Ms. Crockett said she doesn't have children, so she doesn't know, I mean, we're not wired to process the type of tragedy that we're living. We're not. There are no words. I will tell you, it does feel different when an illegal immigrant kills your children than it does an American, because it was preventable. It feels different. Not that I know that because I have had an American kill a child, but when something's preventable and your life is ruined from something that's preventable, it does hit a little different than what I would imagine it would feel like just a regular casualty. Loss in itself is so difficult. There's no words. Loss is loss. It is very tragic. What we're dealing with when it's preventable, when these people have done something and they weren't asked to leave. If I were to go to Honduras, where the woman who killed our children is from, and I would kill 2 teenagers there, I'm not getting any rights from the Hondurans. They're not giving me rights. It's different. This is preventable. So I think it does hit a little different when our tragedy is preventable.
Thank you.
Absolutely. These people didn't come to that hearing for talking points. They came to get their stories heard and on the record. And there was absolutely no room for the ridiculous display that those leftists put on. But it not only did it expose them as grifters and hypocrites, but it exposed their priorities. They couldn't have cared less about these victims. Could not have cared less. And it was obvious. These crimes committed by these illegal aliens are completely preventable. And as I was researching this and going over all this in my show prep, I came across this, and I want to show you this. This is from Senator Mike Lee, and it is a graphic, an animation that shows the influx of illegal aliens into this country since 2020. That is insane, and it is unsustainable. Every one of those red dots, I believe, represents 100 people. I think that's what it is. It may be 1,000. That is ridiculous, and it is completely unsustainable. Completely unsustainable. Which makes all of the victims and their families who were in that hearing, and all of the ones that we don't know about, it makes all of those tragedies 100% preventable. All right, y'all. We are going to get to the Virginia issue, I promise. But right now, we're going to get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's show is Patriot Mobile. And your vote matters. So does your wallet, obviously. And that's why we switched to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they actively support pro-life, pro-family, and pro-freedom causes with every dollar that you spend. So right now, you can get a free month of service at patriotmobile.com/Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Support freedom with every call, every text, every month. Switch to patriotmobile.com today. All right. So a big bombshell dropped. FBI has been investigating the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and the grand jury just came back with an indictment. Do you notice how the people who label everyone else as extremists never expect and never want to have the mirror held up to them? And of course, the left is either silent on this or trying to slow walk it and say, wait for the evidence, but they absolutely never take that approach when it's the other way around. So the Department of Justice opened an investigation into the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, and the grand jury came back with an indictment. Now, what is the SPLC? If you're watching this, you probably know, but for those who don't, it is an organization that even Politico, left-wing Politico, said that it is more of a partisan, progressive hit operation than civil rights watchdog. It is a far-left activist group that exists only to smear conservatives. That's it. That is their main objective. And they have this thing called the Hate Watch blog, which they say monitors and exposes activities of radical right, anti-alphabet mafia, anti-LGBT organizations. And according to them, this is just a small sampling of some of the people and organizations that they find objectionable. Dr. Ben Carson. According to them, Dr. Ben Carson is a radical right-winger. Dennis Prager, the Federalist Society, Franklin Graham, the Catholic Medical Association, Alliance Defending Freedom, the Family Research Council, Texas Values, and Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Those are just a few. Just a few. And so they have been accused and an indictment returned because between 2014 and 2023, they funneled more than $3 million in donated funds to individuals who were involved with groups like the Klan, Aryan Nation, and the National Socialist Party of America, which may sound familiar to you because that's Nazis, actual Nazis. And yet, every time you turn around, they are accusing conservatives of being Nazis. Okay, that makes sense. Now, no major outlet and no prominent left-wing publication that I have seen yet has really said much of anything about it. it's kind of shocking to me that they haven't at least call it a witch hunt or something along those lines. When people like this label conservatives as an extremist, label you as a right winger, that when they try to smear you in some way, the left instantly jumps on it and says, and considers it fact and proceeds as if it were, and proceeds with all the smears and all the labels and all the attempts at canceling. But when they get investigated, now all of a sudden, they either don't have anything to say or want to pump the brakes and wait for the facts, when they absolutely never, ever do the same thing in the reverse. When the situation is reversed, they never do. And then when the facts bear out that they were wrong, well, then you get a 3-sentence retraction on page 12 of the publication. See, we apologize. Well, no, you didn't, because you said it with your whole chest before the facts came out on the front page. And then when you get proven wrong, well, then it's a mealy mouth retraction where nobody's going to see it. This is a major twist, and I'm really happy to see that now the DOJ, they're not perfect. Kash Patel is not perfect. The things that they haven't moved on are numerous and glaring, unfortunately. But this is one they got right. This is one they got right, because the left has defended this organization forever. They have defended them, calling the Heritage Foundation a hate group, when the reality is that they have been funding hate groups, and they themselves are a hate group. To paraphrase the great Andrew Womack, the left's silence has been thunderous on this. Usually it's guilt by association. If you're even tangentially related to any of the wrong groups, well, then you're fair game. But now it's all of a sudden, yeah, let's be careful. Let's watch and see. Ridiculous. They build these lists, the media amplifies it. People lose sponsorships, corporations act, and there's no trial, no appeals process, nothing like that. It's just a cancel operation. But now that the shoe is on the other foot, they're not going to jump to conclusions, and they're going to wait and see who actually, if there's any proof. It was enough for a grand jury to say, to bring back an indictment. So I would say that there's something there. The SPLC, they also have this thing. I told you about the hate blog. They also have a hate map. And what's interesting is I tried to look at it. I tried to look at both the hate blog and the hate map, and I don't know. It didn't say page not found, but it took a long time for those pages to load, and they never did. So I'm not saying that the site's down, but there's something going on. There is something going on. All right. So we have due process playing out right now with the SPLC. In Virginia, they just completely skipped the debate and bypassed due process and just rewrote the rules or redrew the map, as it were. They sold it as fairness, rushed it to a vote, and now a judge has said, not so fast, my friends. The Virginia voters on Tuesday, they approved, barely, a new congressional map. And when you look at it, I don't know if you can see it here. I had it. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if you can see this. It may be a little small. Yeah, it's really hard to see, but the new map basically pinwheels out from the most populous areas in Northern Virginia and another really dense population center in the center in Richmond. But they take the population centers up in Northern Virginia and they pinwheeled them out to all the rural areas in Virginia so that those population centers, Alexandria, right outside DC, all of those areas will basically control all of the state of Virginia. They redrew the map so that none of the Republicans in the rest of Virginia have any representation except for one. I really struggle to understand how they think that's fair. How anyone could look at that when they go from a 6-5 congressional map, 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans. Scott Jennings said it was the most fair map in the country, and that's probably true. They went from 6-5, which I would rather it be the other way around, but that's as fair as it can get, to 10-1. And that's supposed to be somehow fair. And like I said, a judge in Tazewell County, he stopped it. He ruled it was unconstitutional. But of course, the AG, Jay Jones, remember that guy, Jay Jones, the guy who fantasized about killing his Republican opponent and having his killing his Republican opponent and his children and having his wife watch as the children died. That's the guy who is now the top cop in Virginia. And he's going to appeal it. He said that Virginia voters have spoken and an activist judge should not have veto power over the people's vote. It's funny you should say that, Jay, because activist judges have been overruling the will of conservative voters forever. But now, just like the guy who attacked Savannah Hernandez, now that the shoe's on the other foot, now it doesn't feel so good. They pitched this as fairness, and the split was, the vote was 51 to 49. That is very, very close. That is within the margin of error. And I saw a headline. Didn't have a chance to look at it. I saw it just before I came on. But Data Republican on Twitter has some data allegedly that says that there were some shenanigans going on with the vote in Virginia. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Maybe I'll get into that on Saturday when we come back. And Data Republican is usually, actually, I haven't come across an instance where Data Republican has been wrong yet. So we'll see how that plays out. But like I said, the vote was really close, 51 to 49. And James Blair was on with Dana Bash. And I thought I had that clip all ready to go. My show prep this week has been, or today has been a bit of a mess. I completely had a brain fart last night and missed some major parts of my prep. And so I've been playing catch up all morning, and it's been frustrating, but I really want to play this clip because it's important. So let's, while we're looking for that, take a look at this. Because this is, well, they're talking about gerrymandering in this graphic. Massachusetts has 36 Republicans and 0 seats. Connecticut, 42, 0 seats. Maine, 46, 0 seats. New Mexico, 46, 0 seats. New Hampshire, 48, 0 seats. Rhode Island, 42, 0 seats. Vermont, 32, 0 seats. Hawaii, 38, 0 seats. Delaware, 42, 0 seats. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane that Republicans have that much of a vote in those states and no representation. But somehow it's fair that with that many Republicans, that they don't have any representation. That's amazing to me that they can actually come out of their faces and say that with a straight face. It's beyond me. It is absolutely beyond me. Forgive me, I'm trying to find this clip because, like I said, normally I wouldn't bother, but I really want to play this because this is, yeah, here we go. All right.
Your diagnosis for why you and Republicans failed to push back the Democrats' redistricting plan?
Well, first I would reframe that in Virginia. So this is a state in November of 2025 that went by 15 points to the Democrats for governor and about 8 points for attorney general. Last night, this was a 3-point race. That's actually a 3-point overperformance of the Trump 2024 historic performance in Virginia. So just as a baseline for all the Democrats crowing this morning, if Republicans perform anywhere near on average the way they did in Virginia last night, we not only add seats to the Senate, but we add seats to the House, and we have a historic midterm. It was very close last night. There's a backlash to the fact that they were not honest, and the same is going to be true in November. They don't have policies to run on. They don't have a vision to run on. We're going to make them litigate the question of their policies in November. And again, if it turns out the way it did last night, Democrats are not going to win the majority in either chamber.
What is your...
There you go. I was not expecting the vote to be that close. I was not expecting it to be that close because Republicans in midterms are notorious for not showing up. And Virginia, especially, those Republicans are especially notorious for not showing up. And they did. They did. Not enough, obviously, but to have the vote be that close, that bodes well. That bodes well for the midterms, just like James Blair said. But as I said, as we talked about, it's been challenged. And Jay Jones, the guy who wants to be a murderer, he's gonna challenge it. Somebody in the chat said that Trump started this fight. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. They're using that as an excuse. But there are two reasons why Texas decided to redistrict. One, they had a ridiculous influx of illegal aliens. So they had to redraw the maps. There were that many seats, that many new residents, quote unquote residents. And also they were responding to a lawsuit filed by the DOJ that said they had to redraw the maps because the maps as they were currently constituted at that time were illegal. Had something to do with the racial makeup of some of the districts. That's why this is happening. And I'll be honest, if Trump hadn't have said anything, they wouldn't be able to use that as a talking point, but that is not, Trump did not start this. Lies about undocumented voting. Yeah, okay. The instances of undocumented and illegal aliens voting there's plenty of it. You see stories about this at least a couple times a month, but that goes against the narrative. So we can't talk about that. Otherwise everything blows up in the left's face. Hakeem Jeffries. Well, to go along with that, the idea that Trump somehow started this. They got a few new seats in Texas. California responded with their own redistricting nonsense. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing we just want to mention. Texas didn't do anywhere near the gerrymandering unfairness that Virginia just did. Not even close. So even if you want to go down that road, Texas still is relatively fair. And as far as I'm concerned, Texas conservatives in general need to just start playing by the same rules. Play by the same rules. The next redistricting fight that comes up, do exactly what Virginia did and call it fair. And then we'll see how the left reacts to that. But so now Florida has a redistricting fight coming up. And Hakeem Jeffries, in his own ridiculous Timu Obama style, had something to say. And I don't know how anyone takes this guy seriously. I really don't. He is, well, like I said, I've been calling him Timu Obama since he hit the scene. And he's just a joke, an absolute joke. And listen to listen to this. This is amazing.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out. If they go down the road of a DeSantis dummy mander, the Florida Republicans are going to find themselves in the same situation as Texas Republicans, who are on the run right now. And under no circumstances are Texas Republicans picking up 5 seats. They'll be.
Well, as it stands right now, the whole fight has been a wash. Neither side has come out on top. And so if somehow this Virginia disaster were to stand and Florida responds with their own, it's probably still going to end up a wash. So again, I don't know how anyone takes Timu Obama seriously, but let's continue.
Fortunate if they get 2 or 3. While in California, we are going to get all 5. The Republicans are dummy mandering their way into the minority before a single vote is cast, because they started this war and we're going to finish it.
Whatever, man. Like I said, I don't know how anyone takes this guy seriously. I really don't. F around and find out. Okay. Whatever you say, dude. This rhetoric like that turns this from a process discussion, from a policy discussion, to a political street fight. And when it comes to, well, I wish I could say when it comes to a political street fight, I would take Republicans, but the Republicans, for some reason, do not know how to fight. I don't get it. They're getting better. They're getting better. If we have more guys like Brandon Gill, then and Chip Roy, but he's leaving. But if we get more guys like that, maybe it could be something. They want to say it's fair, to get back to that. They want to say it's fair when it helps them. And that ridiculous map in Virginia obviously helps them. But when you turn around and the other side does it, then it's cheating. Like I always say on social media, it's different, Big D, when they do it. And the whole temporary thing. In fact, let's look at the language of the bill, first of all. Maybe. So the language in the bill says that, or the question was, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? Come on. You and I both know there was absolutely nothing temporary about this. If this passed, it was going to be permanent. And despite the legal challenge that's happening right now, it's going to get overturned in appeal. It's going to go to the Virginia Supreme Court, and I have absolutely no confidence that the Virginia Supreme Court is going to see it the same way that this judge in Tazewell County did. I really don't. It shouldn't. I mean, it's obviously blatantly illegal, but the Virginia Supreme Court has proven itself to be a very leftist court. I mean, they're based out of DC. What do you expect? And so, like I said, Florida is about to embark on their redistricting effort. And this tit for tat redistricting that has been going on, as I said, has turned out to be a wash. I actually don't have the clip of Harry Enton when he talks about this on CNN, but he had the poll numbers to show, or the actual numbers to show that it's been a wash. Neither side has gained any seats. So it's gonna spill over. It's gonna spill over. And here's the thing: I showed you that graphic earlier of all the 9 or 10 different states that have 0 Republican congressional seats. Who's really doing the cheating right now? This is just going to escalate. And this is just the latest set of downs in a nationwide political football. Who gets to draw the maps? Who gets representation? Who doesn't? And everyone is about to get in on this field, unfortunately. So we'll see. We shall see. But after all that, after all of that, the narrative control, selective outrage, the structural advantage that they're trying to build in, something else is happening. Something else is happening. Some of the people who built this system that we're now dealing with, who created this monster, some of those people are stepping back and saying, wait a minute, what's happening here? Who am I referring to? And this isn't about just one man who has switched parties. It's about what happens when a party goes so far to the extreme that even its most ardent and loyal defenders can't defend it anymore. And I'm talking about a lifelong Democrat, Alan Dershowitz. He helped build this system that we're dealing with right now. And he has come out and said that he is now a Republican. He's not a fringe figure in the political scene. He's a mainstream, hardline Democrat who has said even the Democrats have gone way too far. And you could kind of see this coming. You could kind of see this coming over the years. Because he's just always been, and I don't agree with him on nearly anything. None of the major issues. He's still pro-abortion, baby murder. He's still, for all intents and purposes, really a Democrat. He's just deciding that he's going to campaign against his former colleagues. And he's kind of been ostracized since he defended President Trump in his first impeachment hearing. But he's been that reasonable voice because, as far as he's concerned, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and everything needs to be filtered through that. And his interpretation of the Constitution isn't always on point, in my opinion, but that's always been his guiding principle. And so I can respect that. But let's take a listen to him in his own words talk about this.
Well, I'm in a converting mood. I just converted from Democrat to Republican, but I'm remaining a Jew.
Okay. Now tell us about this party conversion. What caused you finally to do this?
Well, the Democratic Party has become the most anti-Israel party in the history of the United States. And it's veering, at least many of its extremists, toward anti-Semitism. And I must do everything in my power to prevent the Democrats from getting control of the House, from getting control of the Senate, and in 3 years getting control of the presidency. So everything I can do, I will do. I thought maybe if I just left the Democratic Party, that would do it. But no, I have to go whole hog, join the Republican Party, even though I disagree with some of their policies, as I'm sure you do. But my priority is on foreign policy, the defense of Israel, the defense of American patriotism and values. And I think the Democrats are becoming a party that is not only anti-Israel, anti-Western, but anti-American.
He's not wrong. I wish he had said America first before Israel. I am a huge supporter of Israel. Everyone who knows me, who listens to this and watches this knows that. But it's America first. And as long as the defense of Israel is within our national interest, I'm all for it. I don't think we should be sending them as much money as we do. I'll be very honest about that. But all things other than that being equal, I am as big a supporter of Israel as there is. So he has left the Democrat Party, I'm not sure how much of a difference it's really going to make, because like I said, he's been ostracized from the Democrats for a while. And I'm not sure how many Republicans, conservatives are really going to embrace him and want to campaign with him and stuff like that. But the fact that he has left the Democrat Party that he helped build, that says a lot. That in and of itself says a lot. So he's not a conservative. He's not someone that we should trust in terms of being a staunch supporter or anything like that. And I have a hard time trusting a lot of these people who have had some sort of conversion. Tulsi Gabbard's one. She's been doing a great job as DNI. Her conversion has been slow and steady. I will be interested to see what happens when she leaves the administration and gets back into politics, if she still is on her pro-Second Amendment, pro-Constitution, conservative arc. That remains to be seen. And others, you can't, like I said, trust them, but you can welcome the support and see where it goes. But people like Alan Dershowitz, they didn't wake up suddenly conservative. They didn't wake up different. They woke up and realized that everything around them had changed. And he's not the only, like I said, only old school liberal who has seen his party take a hard left and doesn't want to go along with it. So we shall see. The left is narrowing. They have become a hard left, leaving the Israel anti-Semitism part out of it. They have just gone so far off the deep end on the left that it's hard to see how they recover from it. And like I've said before, people talk about wanting to come together and all that stuff and unify. I don't see how you unify with people who think that men can become women, that men can have babies, that killing babies in the womb is okay. And I think, I don't know, I'm not sure about Dershowitz's stance on that. I think he's against men and women in sports and men having babies and all that. I think on that score, he's kind of aligned with us. But a lot of these leftists, most of these leftists now are not. They think that all of that is just fine. So how can you be unified with a group of people who espouse those views? You can't. I can't. They drew a line. The left drew a line, and that line has always been there for people like us, but Dershowitz and others have seen it, and they don't want to cross that line. And so, like I said, I'm not saying that we can trust him, and I'm not saying that he's a hardcore conservative, but it is worth noting that he has left the Democrat Party. And when your staunchest allies like that start leaving, that's not a fluke. That's the direction. That's the direction that you're headed. All right. That is about it for us today. I wanted to get to some to some more lighthearted stuff, but I really don't have the time. And there's, like I said, that's probably something we'll have on the Saturday show, where we'll get into some lighter stuff, just reacting to some ridiculous videos, probably, and probably get into some pop culture stuff that we don't really talk about during the week. So we'll see how that goes. But that's it for today. That's all we got. I'm not just here to talk your ear off for an hour and a half. And we didn't really get into any of the gospel this time, unfortunately. But we are here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. And so if any of what I said here matters to you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share, bring another guy into the fight. And if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs that we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And you can also head over to shrmedia.com, click on the banner, and that will bring you to the SHR Media Shop, where you can check out all of the t-shirts for all of the hosts that we have here. And speaking of the hosts, you can catch our great lineup on the SHR Media channel. We have Sackhead Sean on Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense, every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. BZ, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, the bulbous one, every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. He will be on tonight. And we also have the new guy, Lyle Beer and Bullstein, every Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So please take a second to like and subscribe and share all of those great shows as well. And remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.